Sometimes the most powerful sound is silence. Let that sink in for a moment. In a world that never stops talking, never stops arguing, never stops trying to get the last word, silence becomes revolutionary. Silence becomes strength. Silence becomes your secret weapon. You have been disrespected. I know you have. We all have. You have felt the sting of a careless word cutting through you like a knife. You have heard laughter at your expense echoing in your ears long after the moment passed. You have seen the eye roll when you walked into the room, felt the weight of someone else's contempt pressing down on your shoulders like a heavy coat you never asked to wear. Your first instinct, and I know this because I've been there, is to strike back. You want to lash out with words sharper than any blade. You want to tear down walls in retaliation. You want to shake this world until it recognizes your worth, until it acknowledges your presence, until it pays you the respect you deserve. But I stand before you today to share a truth that took me years to learn. Sometimes the bravest, most dignified, most strategic thing you can do is stay quiet during disrespect. Now, I can see some of you shifting in your seats. I can feel the resistance. Denzel, you don't understand. They disrespected me. They crossed the line. I can't just sit there and take it. But hear me out. This isn't about being weak. This isn't about being passive. This is about being powerful in a way that most people will never understand. Imagine two warriors on a battlefield. Picture it clearly in your mind. One rushes headlong into combat, sword raised high, shield blocking every blow, shouting challenges that echo across the land. His energy is explosive, his movements frantic. He's burning through his strength like a wildfire burns through dry grass. The other warrior waits, feet planted firmly in the earth, eyes calm as a still lake, breathing steady as a mountain wind. He lets his opponent exhaust himself with futile strikes, watching, learning, waiting. Then, at the precise moment when his enemy is spent and vulnerable, the silent warrior turns the tide with a single decisive blow. You are that silent warrior. You are the one who understands that true power doesn't always announce itself with noise. True power often whispers. True power often waits. True power often wins by not fighting the battle that everyone else wants to fight. I know pain, Lord knows I do. I have walked the path where people's words wounded deeper than any physical wound ever could. I have been shouted at by directors who thought volume was the same as vision. I have been overlooked by casting agents who couldn't see past their own limited imagination. I have been underestimated by critics who measured my worth by their own narrow standards. But every single time, I learned that a response fueled by ego only adds fuel to the flame. Silence, though, is a force that extinguishes the fire. When you stay quiet in the face of disrespect, you create something magical. You create space. Space to breathe when the air feels thick with tension. Space to assess the situation with clarity instead of emotion. Space to heal from wounds that words can inflict. You do not give the disrespectful person the reaction they crave. You do not dance to the rhythm of their drama. You become the metronome of your own destiny, the composer of your own peace. Think of water for a moment. When a rock is hurled into a still pond, ripples spread outward in perfect circles. But water itself remains calm at its center. It does not fight against the stone. It does not curse the thrower. It simply absorbs the impact and returns to stillness. The rock sinks to the bottom, forgotten, while the water continues its eternal dance of tranquility. Be like water. Be like that pond that remains peaceful despite the disturbance. In silence, you cultivate strength. Not the kind of strength that flexes its muscles for everyone to see, but the kind that runs deeper than any river, stronger than any storm. You build a fortress around your spirit that no word, no gesture, no slight can breach. You own your peace, and peace Real peace is the most priceless currency you will ever possess. Now, some will call you passive. They will whisper behind your back, "He just took it. She didn't fight back." Where's their backbone? Let them talk. Their words cannot harm you if you refuse to listen. Their judgments cannot shape you if you refuse to bend. Their disrespect rolls off you like water off leaves after a summer rain. You stay rooted, unshaken, unmoved by the storms that rage around you. But here's what they don't understand, what they can't see because they're too busy making noise. Your silence is not surrender. Your silence is strategy. Your silence is strength wrapped in wisdom. While they're exhausting themselves with drama and conflict, you're conserving your energy for things that actually matter. While they're burning bridges with their words, you're building a foundation that will last. See, when you respond to disrespect with silence, you do something profound. You take control of the narrative. You refuse to let someone else dictate the terms of your engagement. You refuse to let their lack of respect determine your level of response. You become the director of your own story instead of just another actor in someone else's drama. I learned this lesson playing Malcolm X. Malcolm had every reason to lash out at the world. He had been disrespected, marginalized, dismissed. But the most powerful moments in his life weren't when he was shouting. They were when he was listening, when he was learning, when he was growing in silence, preparing himself for the moments when his voice would truly matter. Your silence today is preparing you for your breakthrough tomorrow. Your quiet strength today is building the foundation for your future victory. Every time you choose not to respond to disrespect, you're making a deposit in the bank of your character, and that account will pay dividends for the rest of your life. But let me be clear about something. Silence in the face of disrespect doesn't mean you accept it. It doesn't mean you agree with it. It doesn't mean you think it's okay. It means you're choosing to respond from a place of power instead of pain. It means you're choosing to act instead of react. It means you're choosing to be the thermostat that controls the temperature of the room instead of the thermometer that just reflects whatever temperature everyone else set. When someone disrespects you, they're often looking for a reaction. They want to see you lose your composure. They want to watch you come down to their level. They want to drag you into their arena where they think they can win. But when you stay silent, when you maintain your dignity, when you refuse to play their game, you do something they never expected. You win without fighting. You conquer without conflict. With a sigh, Mike walked back to his buddy, put his hand on the neck, and whispered something they usually didn't talk about. Right, you prove your strength without saying a word. And here's the beautiful thing about this approach. It changes you. Every time you choose silence over anger, dignity over drama, peace over conflict, you become a little bit stronger. You become a little bit wiser. You become a little bit more of who you were meant to be. You start to understand that you don't need everyone's approval to know your worth. You don't need everyone's respect to respect yourself. You don't need everyone's understanding to understand your own value. The world will try to make you believe that silence equals weakness, that if you don't fight back, you're somehow less than, that if you don't defend yourself verbally, you're not defending yourself at all. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. The strongest people I know are the ones who can remain calm in the storm. The most powerful people I know are the ones who can stay quiet when everyone else is shouting. The most successful people I know are the ones who understand that not every battle is worth fighting. Your silence becomes your sanctuary. Your peace becomes your power. Your dignity becomes your defense. And when you operate from this place of centered strength, something amazing happens. People start to notice, not because you're making noise, but because you're making sense. Not because you're demanding respect, but because you're commanding it. Not because you're fighting for your place, but because you're creating it. So the next time someone disrespects you, and there will be a next time, because that's the nature of life, remember this moment. Remember these words. Remember that you have a choice. You can choose to respond with the same energy they brought to you, or you can choose to respond with the energy you want to bring to the world. You can choose to be reactive, or you can choose to be responsive. You can choose to be part of the problem, or you can choose to be part of the solution. Your silence is not weakness, your silence is wisdom. Your silence is strength. Your silence is the space between stimulus and response where your power lives. Use it wisely. Use it strategically. Use it to build the life you want instead of defending the life you have. Remember, in a world full of noise, silence is the loudest statement you can make. In a world full of reaction, composure is the most powerful response you can give. In a world full of disrespect, your dignity is the most valuable thing you can protect. Stay quiet, stay strong, stay you. The world needs your peace more than it needs your war. The world needs your wisdom more than it needs your words. The world needs your strength more than it needs your struggle. Now go. Be that silent warrior. Be that still water. Be that unshakable tree. Let your silence speak louder than any words ever could. In a world obsessed with noise, reaction, and immediate response, we have forgotten one of humanity's most potent forces, the transformative power of strategic silence. This is not the silence of weakness, not the quiet of defeat, but the deliberate, calculated stillness that precedes the storm of greatness. But silence, true silence, is never weakness. It is power clothed in humility, courage masked by calm. Society has conditioned us to believe that silence equals submission, that failing to respond immediately to disrespect means we lack spine or courage. This fundamental misunderstanding has created a generation addicted to reaction, slaves to the immediate impulse, prisoners of their own emotional responses. But those who understand the true nature of silence know better. If silence moves within our souls, we unconsciously submit, to fight back against past violence, to shun our healing. If those who understand the true nature of silence know better, silence is not passive, it is profoundly active. It is not empty, it is full of potential. It is not surrender, it is preparation. When you choose silence in the face of disrespect, you are not yielding. You are strategically positioning yourself for something far greater than a momentary victory in a petty exchange. The weak respond immediately because they cannot control their impulses. The strong choose their moments because they understand the power of timing. The difference between these two approaches is the difference between scattered energy and focused force, between reactive living and strategic existence. I remember a time when I was misjudged, labeled, and shoved aside. I held my tongue. I chose silence over anger, and with that silence came clarity. I saw the bigger picture. I prepared my next steps, and when the moment came, when the world least expected it, my voice rose like thunder, and my actions spoke louder than any angry retort could ever have. This personal experience reveals the transformative journey that silence offers. In that moment of choosing quiet over chaos, something profound happens. The emotional fog clears. The strategic mind engages. The bigger picture emerges from the noise of immediate conflict. When we react immediately to disrespect, we operate from a place of emotional disadvantage. We are responding to someone else's agenda, dancing to their tune, allowing them to dictate the terms of engagement. But when we choose silence, we reclaim control. We shift from reactive to proactive, from follower to leader, from victim to strategist. This silence is not empty waiting, it is active preparation. While others are caught up in the drama of the moment, you are analyzing, planning, and positioning yourself for maximum impact when the time is right. This is the silence of the chess master who sees 10 moves ahead while his opponent struggles with the current position. Silence is an ally when you track your progress, sharpen your focus, and plot your course. True strategic silence serves multiple purposes simultaneously. It creates space for reflection and analysis. It conserves energy that would otherwise be wasted on unproductive confrontation. It allows you to observe your opponents more clearly, to understand their motivations, weaknesses, and patterns. Most importantly, it gives you time to craft a response that is not just effective, but devastating in its precision. When you remain silent during disrespect, you gain several strategic advantages. First, you deny your detractors the satisfaction of seeing you react. This often frustrates them, causing them to escalate their behavior and reveal more about their character and intentions. Second, you maintain your composure and reputation while they potentially damage theirs. Third, you create mystery and intrigue. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you know that they don't. This silence also allows you to separate the wheat from the chaff in your relationships. True allies will respect your choice to remain above the fray, while those who pressure you to react immediately reveal their own lack of strategic thinking. Your silence becomes a filter that identifies who in your circle thinks strategically and who operates purely on emotion. Stay quiet, not because you lack a voice, but because you value wisdom over reaction, vision over spectacle. In that quiet, you hear your own heartbeat. You listen to your dreams. You chart your path. This is the philosophical foundation of strategic silence. It is not about lacking courage or voice, but about valuing long-term wisdom over short-term satisfaction. It is about choosing vision over spectacle, substance over show, lasting impact over momentary victory. In the quiet moments when you resist the urge to react immediately, you reconnect with your deeper self. You hear your own heartbeat, the rhythm of your authentic purpose. You listen to your dreams, the vision of what you want to create in this world. You chart your path, the strategic course that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. This internal dialogue, this communion with your deeper purpose, is impossible when you are constantly reacting to external stimuli. The person who responds to every provocation is like a ship without an anchor, blown about by every wind. But the person who chooses strategic silence maintains their connection to their core purpose, their true north, their authentic power. Your silence is a statement. It says, I refuse to be defined by your disrespect. It says, I control my narrative, and the world listens. Every moment of chosen silence is a declaration of independence. It announces to the world that you are not a puppet whose strings can be pulled by anyone with an agenda. It demonstrates that you are the author of your own story, not a supporting character in someone else's drama. This statement is particularly powerful because it is made without words. Actions speak louder than words, but strategic silence speaks loudest of all. It communicates strength, confidence, and control without saying a single word. It shows that you are secure enough in your own power, that you don't need to prove it through immediate retaliation. The world does listen to this silent statement. People notice when someone maintains their composure under pressure. They remember who stays calm when everyone else is losing their minds. They respect the person who can take a hit and keep moving forward with dignity intact. When the disrespect ends, and it will, your silence will have laid the groundwork for your greatest comeback. Others will remember your composure. They will recall how you rose above the fray when everyone else was lost in the noise. This is perhaps the most crucial aspect of strategic silence. It is not just about managing the present moment, but about building the foundation for future success. Every moment of maintained composure is an investment in your long-term reputation and credibility. People have short memories for specific conflicts, but they have long memories for character. They may forget the details of who said what to whom, but they will remember who maintained their dignity under pressure. They will remember who stayed focused on their goals when everyone else was distracted by drama. They will remember who proved themselves capable of rising above the fray. This reputation becomes a powerful asset in all future endeavors. When opportunities arise, when partnerships are considered, when leadership is needed, People naturally turn to those who have demonstrated the ability to maintain composure under pressure. Your silence during disrespect becomes a credential that opens doors and creates opportunities. And then, when you choose to speak, your voice will carry the weight of 1,000 silences. It will command attention, inspire awe, and provoke change. This is the ultimate payoff of strategic silence. When you finally choose to speak or act, your words and actions carry exponentially more weight than they would if you had been reactive all along. The person who speaks constantly diminishes the impact of their words through sheer volume. But the person who chooses their moments creates anticipation, builds gravitas, and commands attention. Your accumulated silence becomes a force multiplier for your eventual response. People lean in to hear what you have to say because they know you don't waste words on trivial matters. They pay attention to your actions because they know you don't act impulsively. They respect your judgment because they've seen you demonstrate restraint when others could not. This accumulated power is not just about impact, it's about influence. When you speak after a period of strategic silence, you're not just making noise, you're creating change. Your words carry the weight of careful consideration, strategic thinking, and authentic conviction. They inspire others not just to listen, but to act, to hold your silence like a shield. Protect your mind, guard your spirit. Let the disrespect bounce off your armor. Let the world wonder why you didn't respond. Strategic silence serves as protection for your most valuable assets. Your mental peace, your emotional stability, and your spiritual well-being. When you engage in every conflict, respond to every provocation, and react to every slight, you deplete these essential resources. You become emotionally exhausted, mentally scattered, and spiritually depleted. But when you hold your silence like a shield, you protect these precious resources. You maintain your mental clarity, your emotional equilibrium, and your spiritual strength. You refuse to let other people's dysfunction become your dysfunction. You don't allow their chaos to disturb your peace. This protective aspect of silence is particularly important in our hyper-connected age where provocations come from all directions at all times. The person who tries to respond to every slight, correct every misunderstanding, and engage in every debate will quickly find themselves overwhelmed and ineffective. But the person who chooses their battles wisely, who maintains their silence strategically, preserves their energy for the fights that truly matter, and let them watch. These 3 simple words capture one of the most sophisticated aspects of strategic silence: the power of unexpressed potential. When you remain silent in the face of disrespect, you create a sense of mystery and anticipation. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're capable of. This wondering, this speculation, this anticipation often creates more impact than any immediate response could have achieved. The human imagination is powerful, and when people can't figure out your next move, they tend to assume you have something significant planned. This assumption often works in your favor, creating opportunities and advantages that wouldn't have existed if you had simply reacted immediately. The theater of unexpressed power is particularly effective because it engages other people's imagination and curiosity. They become invested in your story, wondering how you will eventually respond, what your silence means, and what you're preparing for. This investment creates a psychological advantage that you can leverage when the time is right. The greatest victory is not in the clash, but in the calm that follows. The greatest triumph is not in the roar, but in the whisper that carries truth. The real victory lies in what happens after the dust settles. The immediate clash, the heated exchange, the dramatic confrontation. These are the superficial manifestations of conflict. The real victory lies in what happens after the dust settles, when the emotional heat has cooled, and when the truth becomes clear. The person who wins the shouting match may feel victorious in the moment, but the person who maintains their composure and responds strategically often wins the war. The roar of anger may dominate the immediate conversation, but the whisper of truth echoes long after the noise has faded. This philosophy requires a long-term perspective that most people lack. We live in a culture of immediate gratification, instant responses, and quick fixes. But the most meaningful victories, the most lasting triumphs, and the most significant changes often come from patient, strategic action rather than immediate reaction. Stay quiet during disrespect, not to hide your power, but to unleash it at the right moment. This paradox lies at the heart of strategic silence. True power is often displayed through restraint rather than action. The person who can remain calm under pressure, who can absorb disrespect without immediate retaliation, who can maintain their focus despite provocations. This person demonstrates a level of self-control and inner strength that commands respect. This restraint is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It takes far more courage to remain silent when you want to speak, to stay calm when you want to react, to maintain your composure when you want to retaliate. This self-mastery is the foundation of all other forms of power. The goal is not to suppress your power, but to deploy it strategically. Like a skilled archer who draws the bow back before releasing the arrow, you pull back in silence not to avoid the shot, but to ensure it hits its mark with maximum impact. During the silence, crucial preparation takes place. You analyze the situation from multiple angles, understanding not just what happened, but why it happened and what it means for your larger goals. You study your opponents, learning their patterns, weaknesses, and motivations. You strengthen your own position, gathering resources, building alliances, and developing strategies. This preparation phase is invisible to those who disrespected you, which gives you a significant advantage. While they may think they've silenced you or defeated you, you are actually becoming stronger, smarter, and more strategically positioned. When you finally choose to act, you do so from a position of strength that they never saw coming. The preparation also involves emotional and psychological work. You process the disrespect, understand its source, and develop immunity to future provocations. You strengthen your emotional resilience, clarify your values, and recommit to your authentic purpose. This internal work ensures that when you do respond, you do so from a place of strength rather than pain. And when that moment comes, when the time is right, you will break that silence, and the world will never be the same. The culmination of strategic silence is the perfect moment of response. This is not about timing for maximum drama or creating the biggest spectacle. It is about timing for maximum impact, maximum effectiveness, and maximum alignment with your authentic purpose. The perfect moment might be when you have gathered enough strength and resources to make your response truly meaningful. It might be when the situation has evolved to the point where your response can create lasting change rather than temporary disruption. It might be when your silence has built enough anticipation and credibility that your words will carry maximum weight. When this moment arrives, your response is not just a reaction to past disrespect. It is a declaration of your future direction. It is not just about settling old scores. It is about setting new standards. It is not just about defending yourself. It is about defining yourself and your values for the world to see. The impact of your strategic silence and perfectly timed response extends far beyond the immediate situation. It sends a message to everyone who witnessed your composure that you are someone who thinks strategically, acts deliberately, and commands respect. It establishes your reputation as someone who cannot be easily provoked, manipulated, or defeated. This ripple effect creates opportunities and advantages that continue long after the specific incident has been resolved. People want to work with, learn from, and be associated with individuals who demonstrate this level of strategic thinking and self-control. Your silence becomes a credential that opens doors and creates possibilities. The example you set also influences others to think more strategically about their own responses to disrespect and conflict. You become a model of how to maintain dignity and power in challenging situations, inspiring others to develop their own strategic thinking and self-control. The evolution of character. Perhaps most importantly, the practice of strategic silence contributes to the evolution of your character. Each time you choose wisdom over reaction, strategy over impulse, and long-term thinking over short-term satisfaction, you strengthen your inner foundation. You become more centered, more confident, and more capable of handling whatever challenges life presents. This character development is the ultimate victory. The specific incidents of disrespect that triggered your silence may be forgotten, but the strength, wisdom, and strategic thinking you developed in response will serve you for the rest of your life. You become someone who cannot be easily shaken, provoked, or defeated, because you have mastered the art of self-control and strategic thinking. The silence that begins as a response to disrespect evolves into a way of being, approach to life that prioritizes wisdom over reaction, strategy over impulse, and authentic power over superficial displays of strength. This evolution transforms not just how you handle conflict, but how you approach all aspects of life. In the end, strategic silence is not just about managing disrespect. It is about maximizing your potential, protecting your peace, and positioning yourself for the greatest possible impact when the time is right. It is about becoming the kind of person who cannot be diminished by others' behavior because you have learned to control your own.